of SEMA is bright in Kaduna State, and his performance, as far as we are concerned, so far so good, and congratulations to him and the state.
Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas has done well in the last 1 year of assumption of office.
For this, because I've been meaning to get this.
The beaming smile on the face of a 30-year-old Jessica Inyeka is a true reflection of a disaster to relieve at the speed of light. It was a case of hopelessness by a victim of a man-made disaster who happened to be far away from her home state of Benue, together with her husband and children in pursuit of their farming trade in Kaduna State. Attacked and displaced by a group of bandits at a community in Birnungwari local government area, Jessica and her family escaped to Kaduna, where the light of hope, support and recovery shined on her through the intervention of SEMA. The story of Jessica is one of the successes of livelihood interventions in disaster management and humanitarian services of Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas in his 1-year stewardship as Executive Secretary of Kaduna State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA. SEMA is an agency established by law to coordinate all disaster-related activities and disaster management actors operating in Kaduna State, and to provide advisory to the state government through the Human Capital Development Policy Council on disaster issues, that is prevention, preparedness, response and recovery. The 1-year leadership of Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas as Executive Secretary of SEMA has redefined the concept of emergency preparedness, response and humanitarian interventions. In achieving that, the Executive Secretary saw the need to bridge the gap by developing capacities of the 964 persons, including personnel of the agency, desk officers of MDAs, CBN, DSS, student of KASU and LEMCs to better address disaster issues in the state. The training focused on emergency preparedness and response, contingency planning, coordination in emergency, supply and logistics in emergency, organizational safety awareness, first aid for first responders, harmonized approach to cash transfer.
Capacity development is something that is key for attainment of organizational results. I am from the background of the United Nations, and therefore I take issues of capacity to be very essential. So once I assumed duty here in Kaduna State, the first thing I did was to evaluate the capacity of the agency's staff, and I was able to identify the gaps that existed. So I drew a plan to train the staff members as well as desk officers from ministries, departments, and agencies. So I ran a number of trainings in the areas of emergency preparedness and response, coordination in emergency, supply and logistics in disaster management, harmonized approach to cash transfers, which enable us relate with ExCom agencies of the United Nations, and a host of other trainings, not only for KADSEMA staff, but even other organizations within Kaduna that saw what I was doing in KADSEMA and invited me to train their own staff. For instance, I trained up to 440 staff members who were on a routine training in Kaduna for the DSS, and about 122 staff members for the central bank. So capacity development is something you cannot shy away from if you must succeed. That informed my decision.
Other collaborative capacity building for SEMA staff within the period were in-house training for staff of Account Department of SEMA, in-house training on first aid and health issues in emergencies conducted by the Red Cross, workshop to develop capacity of nutrition desk officers on memo writing organized by Planning and Budget, shock responsive social protection system training organized by the Nigerian Red Cross, and workshop on the procurement and integration of AFFEWS and AWOS in Zaria, Kafanchan for Kaduna New Map. Others are USAID, USFS NEMA, training for select few chief executives of SEMAS and staff of NEMA, National Consultative Workshop on 2022 Flood Preparedness, Mitigation and Response in Nigeria, Community Entry and Stakeholders Engagement Exercise in collaboration with Christian Aid, Capacity Development on Emergency Preparedness and Response for Local Emergency Management Committees of the 23 Local Government Councils of Kaduna State, and Public Awareness Sensitization Campaign on Flood in Cubao Local Government. All these trainings and capacity building exercises were in addition to the various workshops and seminars facilitated by the Executive Secretary in and outside Kaduna State.
A number of state emergency management agencies have either come to us in Kaduna to learn or invited me to join them in their various states to as well train their staff members.
One of the major achievements of the leadership of Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas in SEMA within his first months in office was his determination of institutional local emergency management committees in all the 23 local government areas of Kaduna State. These are local structures that support SEMA's work at local government level.
The Local Emergency Management Committee is a structure enshrined in the National Disaster Management Framework. We have the National Emergency Management Agency operating at the federal level, state emergency management agencies operating at the state level, and the local emergency management committees which are to operate at the local government level. For us, we are even pushing to get volunteers at the community level to also support the local emergency management agencies, committees. So basically, the LEMCs, that's the local emergency management committees, replicates what we do at the state level in terms of prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and when it gets to the recovery phase, they all support SEMAS in carrying out those functions.
Apart from the training and capacity building, Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas has used his friendship and connections to expand SEMA's partnership with development partners and international organizations with a view to enhance service delivery. Some of these organizations include UNICEF, Red Cross, USAID, Plan International, Care Nigeria, Victim Support Fund VSF, NEMA and states emergency management agencies across the 35 states and the FCT. The systemic approach to emergency and humanitarian interventions of the Executive Secretary have captured the attention of many stakeholders. As such, they paid him official visits in order to enhance working partnerships. The roll call of those who visited Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas in his office are UNICEF Nigeria Country Office, International Organization for Migration IOM, UNDP, NEMA, Nigerian Red Cross, Victim Support Fund VSF, and numerous CEOs of agencies.
I must say that for the short period he has been here, his efforts have been very commendable. First, he has, activated very strong partnerships, and he did that by calling for a coordination meeting. He called all partners to, the meeting, and agencies that had not been, active in, emergency management before, were brought to the fore. They were part of that coordination meeting. Each agency, each partner, identifying what the agency brings to the table. And I think that's one of the leadership qualities that I've seen, bringing, partners together to identify the issues, to come about, having a common vision, and I think that's very commendable.
On his part, the Executive Secretary Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas has within the first year in office made similar visits to stakeholders as well as organizations and institutions that are critical in emergency response and humanitarian services in and outside Kaduna State, with the same aim of enhancing working partnerships. Some of the places visited by the ESR, His Royal Highness Emir of Zazzau, Plan International, Care Nigeria, FEMA, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, DSS Service Development Center Afaka, UNICEF Kaduna Field Office, Christian Aid.
He's been doing excellently well. He has repositioned the organization. You can see clear direction as to his vision and also the vision of the organization. I believe the future of SEMA is bright in Kaduna State, and his performance, as far as we are concerned, so far so good, and congratulations to him and the state.
The office of the Executive Secretary of SEMA is a busy place with activities on daily basis, ranging from planning to prevent, mitigate or responding to emergencies. For instance, on the 8th of December 2021, the ES led a team to evacuate a body found floating in River Kaduna. On the 28th day of March 2022, the Executive Secretary led a team of humanitarian actors including Red Cross, soldiers, police, doctors and nurses to search, rescue and evacuate victims severely wounded and dead bodies post-attack of the Abuja-Kaduna AK-9 train attack at Audu Jongwam Rijana. 26 victims were severely wounded. 9 dead bodies were evacuated. 1 escapee was evacuated.
I have one particular case that I have seen the dexterity in him, the hard work, the commitment, and the technical know-how in him. On the 28th of March 2022, there was an attack on the Kaduna-bound train. It's a very unfortunate incident where we lost 9 passengers, 26 were injured, and over 60 were kidnapped. By the time we were able to identify the exact location, it was a very severe situation for us. But the dexterity, hard work, and dedication that Mukaddas exhibited was a superb one in the evacuation of the injured, and the way and manner those that lost their lives, were also evacuated from the scene. Throughout the night, till the early hours of the day, he was there, supervising.
He provided quarterly ministerial briefings to Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Human Capital Development Council. On the 1st of February 2022, he briefed them on his agency's activities and achievements for 2021 and the targets for 2022. He was at the Kujama Weekly Market on the 30th of March 2022 for a disaster risk reduction sensitization outreach on the dangers of displaying market goods on the highway. The Executive Secretary also went on similar visits to communities of Romi, Karatudu, Ungwandosa, Kigo Road, etc. at the onset of rainy season to sensitize the communities. He also visited some flood-prone areas of Bashama Road, Romi, Karatudu, Kigo Road, Ongwarimi and Rafunguza, and conducted assessments of flashed flooded areas in Goningora. Muhammed Mu'azu was regularly seen at River Kaduna in continuation of his monitoring of flood-prone areas.
Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas has done well in the last 1 year of assumption of office as the Executive Secretary of the State Emergency Management Agency. He has done well, exhibiting hard work, dedication, and commitment in all challenges related to disaster and risk management or disaster and emergency management in Kaduna State. He has brought a new innovation. He has also brought a new template of managing disaster and emergency management by being prompt, by being scientific, and by not waiting until there is a disaster before you showcase your stuff. Earlier planning, attending to signs that indicate that something is coming, and that if you don't stand up and do something, definitely it will become severe and management very difficult. So he has done well.
Honestly speaking, for this 1 year he has served as the Executive Secretary of KADSEMA. I think he has done quite a lot. Frankly speaking, I have worked with several ES over the years, and one thing that's quite remarkable about him is that he likes to be on the driver's seat. There was a time he organized a workshop, and he was the instructor. He was the resource person at the workshop. I was so impressed. I didn't know. It was later I got to hear that he organized a workshop for in-house, and he was the one piloting the affairs. I was so impressed. It was quite commendable. Beyond that, he has done quite a lot. Numerous, and I have participated in several of them, particularly in this area of bringing the LEMCs and trying to strengthen the LEMCs.
Security agencies are considered major stakeholders in response to emergency. That is why the Executive Secretary of SEMA took it upon the agency to organize a coordination workshop with the police, DSS, NSCDC, NDLEA, CADVIS, Immigration Services, etc., operating in Kaduna, and also provided gadgets to support their operations and enhance their agency synergy. The Kaduna State Fire Service is one department of SEMA that have received the attention of the Executive Secretary. He has, in the 1 year of his leadership of the agency, visited the zonal offices of the agency in Kaduna, Kafanchan and Zaria to assess their levels of preparedness to respond to fire incidences.
The fire service is a department of SEMA. Therefore, as part of the initial works that I did on arrival was to assess their strengths and their weaknesses and the opportunities, of course, that exist there. So we were able to look at their firefighting trucks, capacities of their staff as well. We included them in some of the trainings that we conducted, and we supported them in terms of fixing some of the trucks, the firefighting trucks that were ab initio, dysfunctional, as well as getting support. I met with our partners from the oil and gas, with a view to gain support from the oil and gas people who have all agreed now to support us, at least with the supply of diesel as their own way of giving back to the community, because government alone cannot do it. We needed them to contribute. So again, we ran a lot of disaster risk reduction sensitization, campaigns and outreaches, within the communities and within local governments, in markets, in Zaria and, a host of other local governments, with a view to sensitize, people to shy away from triggering, fire disasters in markets and in communities. We ran a lot of jingles, ab initio. When the fire service men went to extinguish fire, they get stoned by people. We all try to deal with most of that. So this has brought a lot of change to the modus operandi of the fire service.
One area that have really felt the impact of the leadership of the Executive Secretary of SEMA is the intervention of the agency in providing relief material to victims of various natural or man-made disasters across Kaduna State. The relief materials that include food and non-food items are mostly by critical stakeholders in the humanitarian services and disaster management. They are Kaduna State Government, NEMA, NIMASA.
Life was not easy. With me, I cannot even afford food. In fact, I was living under mercy of people, under other people's mercy. But now that I have the machine, my children was out of school. They were out of school. Now that I have my machine, three of my children are in school right now. It's only this one that is small. That is the reason why he's with me, and we can feed. At least we can feed very well now, because I've been getting jobs. And the school that my children are attending and other school, they have been giving me contract to sew uniform for them. Anytime I kneel to pray, I always pray for Kaduna State government for what they have done for me and my family. I feel so much excited. I cannot tell you how excited I am, but my main looking at me, you will know that I'm happy.
Since he came in as Executive Secretary, the people of Binungwari local governments are very, very grateful to him. And even all the directors, education and social development in Kaduna State, we are very, very grateful to him. He used to organize workshop seminars for us. He will invite national and international donors. We attended so many workshops under him. We are very grateful for that.
First of all, I would like to say that I'm very happy to be associated with Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas, not even before becoming the ES, because it has happened that we met at the Center for Disaster Risk Management, where I was facilitating when he was doing his master's in disaster management. I have found him to be very resourceful, somebody that is very professional in the area of disaster management, and because that's what he has done before becoming the Executive Secretary of SEMA. So when he became the Executive Secretary, I did not wonder, because I know that an expert has come to the area. And of course, as also a consultant to the Kaduna SEMA, as well as part of the house, I know that he has done so much well, because I have been carried along in almost all the activities of SEMA. within this 1 year, he has done remarkably well by doing a lot of activities, especially taking disaster management to the local community by the establishment of local emergency management committee, reviewing the contingency plan of the Kaduna, and many more.
In recognition of his commitment to service delivery, the Kaduna State Executive Council appointed the Executive Secretary as a technical member of the committee on the disbursement of funds to affected victims of criminal attacks under the Riot Damage Funds Act from 2015 to date.
Yeah, His Excellency Governor Nasir Ahmad El-Rufai made me one of the members of that committee. We've gone around all of the affected local governments and reviewed the assessment that had been carried out, because this particular case you're talking about happened a long time ago, but it is now time to compensate those affected. What I observed is that the people are living in perpetual fear of reprisal, as was seen, recurring, in those local governments. And most of them are living below, the standard of living. Yeah, those are some of my observations.
For the staff of SEMA, Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas' 1-year stewardship has redefined the agency's modus operandi to an international standard.
He is a team player, as everybody is being carried along, and he listens and engages all staff. All staff get listening ear from him. He operates an open door policy with the staff, so every staff is free to relate with him. He is somebody who is hardworking, and he appreciates hard work as well.
Muhammed Mu'azu Mukaddas is one man who is passionate in the discharge of his duty as a disaster manager. And in the area of firefighting, so far in 1 year in office, he has exhibited that through the way he has been pushing for the releases of funds to cater for the immediate needs of the fire service in the provisions of firefighting equipment.
As it is in the tradition, the United Nations has set aside 13th day of October yearly to commemorate International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. The Executive Secretary led stakeholders to commemorate the day with a symposium and an 8-kilometer road walk. What would the Executive Secretary want to be remembered for after his administration?
I would like to be remembered as somebody who developed capacities of staff members, not only the staff working for SEMA, but staff members across ministries, departments, and agencies, and other organizations that operate in Kaduna. As I told you, I trained people from the DSS, from Central Bank, from MDAs. So I want to be remembered as somebody who enhanced capacity of the workforce in Kaduna State. I also would like to be remembered as somebody who changed the status quo of SEMA from an organization that waits for disasters to occur and then they respond, to somebody who entrenched, the culture of prevention and mitigation in Kaduna State. So we go deep, into the issues. We identified the hazards, that lives beneath people. We created documents that address the problem from the root, of it, rather than waiting to respond to disasters.